Welcome to Friday with Friends. Friday with Friends is our opportunity to talk about the real estate market, answer any questions you may have, so that if you have any real estate needs, we'd love the opportunity to be your realtor of choice.
Yes. So we have another episode of terms that you need to know within our Friday with Friends here. And today we are talking about a really cool new product that's come up over the last few years, and that's a cash guarantee.
And if you haven't been in the real estate market, you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're here today.
Exactly.
To talk to you about that. So let's start. What is it? So here's what happened. As the market was getting very competitive, what the banks and what the market was identifying is that if you were up against cash, even if you were an incredibly strong buyer, you couldn't win. The seller was like, why would I take the risk? They would even accept $5,000 less on their house if they just didn't have to worry about a mortgage contingency. So banks, as banks do, got pretty smart about it. And they created the cash guarantee program. And what it means is they are saying, listen, we're going to create a product where we feel so confident that this buyer is going to secure the funding. And we feel so confident that we're going to be able to bring it to the closing table, that we're going to create a product that removes the mortgage contingency and makes you look as good as cash.
Yep. And so many times, and now keep in mind, there's many banks and lenders and different companies out there that offer some type of cash guarantee product. And more are coming to the table each day. So everything we're talking about is a little bit different from bank to bank and lender to lender. So keep that in mind.
Good.
But many times they are writing offers as cash because the bank is saying, we are so confident in this buyer that we're not going to make you put a contingency in there for a mortgage or for an appraisal. So that creates, as if you're a seller with your seller hat on and you're looking at two offers, one's a cash guarantee and one's a cash offer, they look pretty similar. And that's what banks were trying to do as they were losing out to all of these buyers that were coming with cash offers.
And as we'll talk about next is kind of how some of these cash guarantees may differ, but most of the time, if there is still an appraisal that the bank wants to do on the property, it's not contingent on the appraisal because in that agreement, the bank is saying, hey, no matter what happens, even if the appraisal comes off a little bit, they are so strong that we can cover that and we can cover that gap.
Yep, exactly. So lots of different products out there. Typically what we find is that the bank does have a very large deposit amount. So that's going to be the good faith deposit. And sometimes they're requiring maybe even around 20% for that good faith deposit. And that has to be delivered to the listing agent, so the seller's agent, within 2 days of the accepted offer. And typically that can be around 20% of the purchase price. So that's a big amount. Now that money will go back to the buyer at closing, but they want the buyer to have a little bit of skin in the game and making sure that they have the funds to purchase the home. Again, just to be sure that they're ultra confident in giving them that cash guarantee.
And you have to think about this from the bank side. What would I need a buyer to be able to do to feel so confident that we don't need to be protected on this end? And that's that really large deposit. And now there's some that maybe it's even less, but this is where you can at least know to ask the questions. And if it is something that is a bigger amount, what some products allow or some banks allow is that call it 20%. That 20% doesn't have to be all of your funds. That could potentially come from a family member. So let's say you're doing this really strong, let's just call it 20% down deposit, and you can get some of the money from the family member. But at the closing table, you actually only want to put 5% down. Again, different lenders may have different options.
Yep.
You then can get that money back. All it is this placeholder and this confidence to say, hey, we are going through this and we have this cash available to be able to purchase property.
Yep, and you have the cash available to get to the closing table, which is really all that the bank wants to do, and they want to make sure that they're putting their best foot forward. So when a seller is looking at it, they see it as equal to cash, which in many times that's what you're competing with in this market. And now every bank and lender is different. I think we could say that one more time possibly. But many times they will actually say, we're so confident in this buyer that if they walk away for whatever reason, we will buy the house as the bank. And a lot of times that gives sellers a really big peace of mind, sometimes even more than a traditional cash offer, because let's say they got a really high price based off of escalation clauses and things like that. They know that they're going to close at $400,000 versus if it was cash and they walk away, they go back on the market, they might not get that same price again. So it gives them the confidence that that cash guarantee, if they have the term in there about buying the house, is going to close no matter who buys it. the bank or the buyer.
Yeah. So that's it. That's what the cash guarantee is. Again, every single lender, you have to make sure you're just asking those questions and finding one that works for you and that you feel comfortable with. You do not have to use the cash guarantee, but if you do come in to the market, it's important to know what you're up against to really know what it takes to win and to set your expectations. So that's what we've got for you today on
Friday with Friends.
Again, Friday with Friends is our opportunity to answer questions you may have to really help make sure that you're feeling confident as you're entering in the real estate market. If there's anything we can do, anything you'd like us to speak to on future episodes, never hesitate to reach out. You can also find us on all of our social channels and friend on your side. If you ever have any real estate needs, we'd love to be here for you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.